Deafrowe with Deafrowe closed captioning, and we're approaching the Halloween season, and I thought it would be appropriate to show you one of my favorite Halloween movies or horror movies to get the Halloween season started, called The Monster Squad from 1987. I start the season off with this movie almost every year because it's a movie I can watch with my kids and not worry about them catching some woke horse shit that you would see in today's modern junk. Please like, subscribe, and share. Hit that notification bell if you want to see more of my stuff and more of my reviews, more of the obscure stuff that I find, and show you guys, like last week's episode with, the Cold Harvest. Check that one out. But today's, we're going to talk about The Monster Squad, 1987. Starring Andre Gower, Stephen Mott, Duncan Rygar as Count Dracula. Tom Noonan is one of my favorite Frankenstein's monsters that I've seen in a while. Ryan Lambert as Rudy, Ashley Bank as Phoebe, Brent Chalem as Horace, Mary Ellen Trainor as Emily, which is the mother, Michael Faustino as Eugene, Leonardo Cimino as a scary German guy, Stan Shaw as Detective Sapphire, Jason Hervey as EJ, which, if you've ever seen The Wonder Years, that's the older brother, Jason Hervey. And then, of course, you got John Grise, which plays the desperate man that turns into the Wolfman. And if you don't know who John Grise is, it's Uncle Rico. Or, if you go further back, in Real Genius, he's Laszlo. Cool dude's been in quite a bit of movies, actually. That's just two off the top of my head that I know he's in. So, anyway, on to The Monster Squad, 1987. Let's go here. As you can see, let's go back a little first so you catch the little, thing that they're saying at the beginning. It was a time of darkness in Transylvania, a time when Dr. Abraham Van Helsing and a small band of freedom fighters conspired to rid the world of vampires and monsters and save mankind from the forces of eternal evil. And they blew it. That's the Monster Squad for you, buddy. So we get what happens to Van Helsing at the beginning of this movie when he's trying to take down Dracula in his castle. He's got the gem that opens up the portal to the void that he could throw these monsters into. And he's got the Virgin to read the spell in order to open up the void using the gem. And he's trying to do all that. He does manage to open the void, but the problem is Dracula is nowhere to be found. He has escaped, and of course, his ass gets dragged in there. Years later, 100 years later, because that's the way the folklore works with the gem, it's every 100 years. We're at this small school, and you're suburbia, what you want to call it. I don't like to pinpoint an exact location where this is filmed and all this stuff because it kind of takes away from the charm, in my opinion. But I do know they have of course, you got these two friends here. They're all in the dude is all in the Stephen King and stuff, wearing the shirt. Stephen King rules. I guess so. In some cases, he does. And they're talking to this guy, which is like the creepy principal guy, and the cat lady, who's one of their teacher. I got in trouble for drawing her head as a cat. Horace. Here we got Horace, and we got EJ. He's picking on EJ. EJ's picking on him, and then, of course, you got Rudy comes in and saves him, like, hey, eat the candy bar that you took away from Horace and stomped him to the ground. The Rudy character's pretty cool in this. Now, I will say this. He does smoke cigarettes in this movie, but that's just that's 1987. That was like the worst thing that you could spot in this whole movie was the smoking, and they say shit. Compared to today's horseshit stuff that we see, this ain't half bad, I hate to tell you. So we get them walking away, going home, and they stop by the creepy German guy's house. Decide to go right past there, and they're trying to decide whether or not to let Rudy into the club since he did save Horace from EJ. Stuck up for him at least. And of course we cut to the scene where the guys are flying over this little small town with a cargo plane, and it's got some weird cargo, one including Frankenstein's monster and Dracula in tow. And of course he dumps it because Dracula scares the shit out of him, and of course they're up in the treehouse looking at that dude's sister right there. They're giving him like a quiz to see if he could be in the club. And they go over and they ask him, how would you kill Wolfman other than by silver bullet? And he's like, no, this silver bullet's pretty sure that's the only way to kill Wolfman. And they argue over that for a little bit until they finally like, oh yeah, you're in, whatever. So then his mom, gives him a book that she got at a yard sale that was, came from this house up on an old Shadow Brick Road or something like that. And it ends up being a Van Helsing journal of some sort that has the information he would need. But it's all in German, so he can't read it. So that's the only bad thing. And of course, you got the badass car that Dracula's driving around in. He goes and he's basically in the swamp area of that town trying to find the stuff that the plane dumped. The dad's got to go to work. He's a cop. Mama doesn't like that he's a cop and all this crap. And of course, this dude right here, he's freaking out. He's this is John Gry's character. But they just call his character the Desperate Man because I don't think he got into the wolf suit. It was another guy entirely that got into the wolf suit to be the Wolfman. So John Gry's just played the guy with the curse, basically, of being the Wolfman. And of course they shoot him because he was like freaking out in there and he grabbed one of the sheriff's guns or a police officer's guns. Then we got the mummy that escapes from the museum, and of course he's talking. One of the detectives is talking to the security guard at the museum. It's like, so the mummy just got up and walked away, like must have. And then of course shows the mummy going away from there. And then he shows up back from work, and of course he's up on the roof watching some slasher movie on the screen across the house from him. I'll be honest with you, I love this scene of the movie with him up on the roof with his dad drinking a Coke, eating a hamburger, and watching a movie from the top of his roof that's being projected on the screen on the outside, it'd be awesome if you had a house set up this way. No joke, it'd be awesome if you had a house set up in the vicinity of a place like that where you could watch it from the roof. Because all you need was the radio to tune in on, if you're close enough, to tune in on the for the sound. So you got your radio, sit up on your roof and just watch the movie. Or, he's right there next to a window, actually. You could sit right there in the window and watch it. So, pretty cool. Actually, really like that scene. So then we go back to Dracula. He's, Wolfman has met up with him. The mummy has met up with him. And now we get the, what they call the Gilman or whatever. I call him the creature from the Black Goon. He picks up out of the casket that's got Frankenstein and throws up Frankenstein's monster and throws him up on the ground. So Dracula can attach basically these two jumper cables to his bolts on the side of his neck and jumpstart him with lightning. I thought that was kind of funny how they brought him out of his sleep, pretty much. And of course, they're saying they're going to fight because he's a cop. That's the only thing I don't like about this movie. They do this whole cliche thing with cops and having troubled marriages because they're always working all the time. It's kind of a cliche. I've seen it in so many movies, it's ridiculous. It's kind of overplayed, but it's 1987. The cliches were still popular then. And of course, Sean, his character, Andre Gower's character, he's trying to figure out who it is that called the house wanting the book, and he realizes it because the guy left the name and it was Alucard, and he was like, "Oh, it was Dracula spelled backward." I'm like, "Oh crap!" So then we cut to one of the other Monster Squad dudes. This is Eugene, I think, and there's a mummy in the closet. And of course, the dad doesn't look in the closet; he just opens it up and like, "Ooh, scary!" And there's the mummy right behind him, obviously. And so. Like, oh yeah, and then Eugene and the rest of them meet up again, and they're like, yeah, something strange is going on here. It's crazy stuff, and I got some dude calling my house thinking he's, with the name Alucard, and then he also is talking about how his dad had an issue that night with a mummy escaping the museum, and then that one dude that got shot, and then later on he was in the van and escaped the paramedic van or whatever. Crazy stuff. And then Dracula's talking to Frankenstein's monsters like, "Hey, my friend, I need you to go get this jewel, and I need you to get this book and kill those kids." Well, Frankenstein's monster is not a mean person, so. And of course, they decide they need to talk to the German guy because the German guy can speak German. And they have a book in German that some dude named Alucard wants, with a name spelled backwards, meaning Dracula. Or whatever. So they finally have to go talk to the German guy. And that's when Phoebe, which is kind of left out of the club because she's a girl, that whole cliche. But she is the first one to come across Frankenstein's monster. And of course, they're at the scary German guy's house, and he's feeding them pie and everything else, and being as cool as possibly could be. And come to find out, he's actually a German Jew who was kept in a concentration camp because they kind of give you a shot of the number on his wrist. So he ends up being a real cool dude. And they get him to read some of the stuff in the book and try to figure out what's going on. And they realize, it's almost to that 100 years again where we can use this jewel to open up the void. And that's the reason they want this book. And they want, because it has the spell or whatever that they have to repeat in order to open up that void. So that's what he's reading to him now. We go further on, and Phoebe tells them, like, "Look, guys, look what I found!" And of course, they see that it's him, and then all scatter, like, "Holy crap! Oh, he's cool. He's our friend," and all this stuff. And which this has got to be one of the coolest looking Frankenstein's monsters I've seen in a while. And of course, they move on. They bring him up to the clubhouse, start trying to talk to him and figure out what's going on. And he's like, he kind of explains a little bit to him, like he basically say they want him to the effect that he want the book. And Frankenstein's is part of the Monster Squad now. That's a pretty cool scene, actually, right there. I'll go back. So they realize they got to get that jewel in order to open up the void, and Dracula's trying to get to it himself as well. He's been chiseling at the bottom of this foundation. Anyway, so now they know that these creatures are real. They start building weapons to fight them. You got Rudy here making stakes for the vampires. Eugene sending letters to the National Guard. And then you got Rudy again. It seems like Rudy does a lot of the dirty work. I'll be honest with you. He's the coolest character in the show, in the movie, but he also has to carry a lot of the heavy load, dirty work stuff. I mean, he makes the stakes. He melts all the silver to make the silver bullets for the werewolf. So, yeah, crazy stuff. He didn't steal the silver, but what Sean did. Yeah, Shadowbrook Road. There it is. So they know where the house is. So they have a general idea because that's where the house that called, or that's where the house that had the yard sale that sold the book to. So they know that the jewel or the diamond or whatever it is got to be there. It's got to be there. They got to go get it. So they go and do that. They got their weapons and everything. He's trying to keep that cursed dude tied up until he turns into the Wolfman again so he can use him. The friend is trying to make sense of all this. And then, of course, then the Wolfman, or, the cursed dude calls the cops and he basically calls Sean's dad and say, look, they're coming after your kids because they got the book. Don't let them get you. And then he turns into a wolf. Okay, now they're going to the house. They try to ask her if she's a virgin. Of course, she ends up not being. Have you been doinked? Dort, whatever. Doink, dort, whatever. So now they got to go into that house and get that jewel. And this is one of my favorite parts in the movie, hands down. And this is something that just about anybody that's watched this movie can remember. And it's when Wolfman shows up and they tell him, kick him in the nards, kick him in the nards. And then Horse is like, what if you ain't got any? Kick him anyway. And he kicks him and Wolfman goes down. He's got nards. Wolfman's got nards. And of course they fall into they accidentally open up a trap door and they fall into the place where it's got the jewel. And of course all these crosses, garlic, and all this stuff doesn't bother them whatsoever. So they go in there and grab it real quick. And of course Horse, on the way out, they encounter Dracula, and Horse has a garlic and cheese sandwich of some sort and throws it at Dracula's face, and they escape. Now the dad is trying to figure out what's going on. All he knows is somebody's coming after his kids, and he's going to stop it. Even though the other detective doesn't believe him. Of course, the mummy is chasing them after they're trying to get away with the jewel. And of course, like I said, Rudy doing all the dirty work, man. Again, he takes out the mummy. You'll find that Rudy pretty much takes out the majority of the characters in this movie. He takes out most of the monsters, let's put it that way. So then we get, because he unbandages the mummy pretty much and unravels them. And they're trying to get to a church in town square. Dracula has showed up at Sean's house. As his dad pulls up, he's shooting him and then nothing's happening to him, and Dracula throws a damn stick of dynamite up underneath a police car and blows it up with his friend in there, the other detective. And that's all. And then he realizes this is all real, and that his son and everybody else is in danger. So he's got to get down to town square where they're trying to do the jewel spell. And that's where they figure out that she's not a virgin, and it doesn't work, because it doesn't work with her. So he's trying to help Sean. He sees Sean up here with the wolf. Oh, he shot at the bat. The bat, he hit the bat, and the bat landed in a warehouse. And he goes up there to finish off the job. But by the time he gets up there, the Wolfman shows up. And of course, he stuffs the Wolfman's pants with that dynamite and throws him out the window and blows him up. But Like Rudy said, you can't kill a werewolf you can only kill a werewolf with a silver bullet. So what happens? The werewolf puts itself back together because he's can only be killed with a silver bullet. And of course, now, again, like I said, Rudy having taken the blunt of this, he takes down three of the vampires, the mistress vampires that the Dracula turned. And then, of course, the Wolfman, he put himself back together, and he's attacking all these cops over here, or whatever. And, of course, Rudy again got to do some dirty work. Grabs one of the sheriffs that the Wolfman has knocked down, grabs his gun, puts a silver bullet in it, shoots him. Finally ends his misery as the Wolfman. And, of course, the guy, the John Gry's character, the man, he leans up and says thank you for shooting him because he didn't want to be the Wolfman anymore. And then, of course, this part right here is pretty cool. Horace takes out the creature from the Black Lagoon with a shotgun. So the name's Horace. Okay, so they figure out that one girl is not a virgin, of course, and so they get Phoebe to read the curse off. Even though she can't read, she just repeats everything the German man says in order to get the void open. They finally get the void open, and Dracula is still fighting everybody. And Dracula's got Sean, and he's dragging him towards the void. And so, what happens is, hold on, I got lost track. Yes, Van Helsing grabs Dracula and pulls him into the void, letting Sean stay behind, and basically detaches Sean from Dracula so Sean doesn't get pulled in. And then, of course, you got Frankenstein's monster and Phoebe. This is kind of a sad part because you didn't want to see Frankenstein's monster ended up being a good guy, and you didn't want to see him go into the void like that, but he realizes he ain't got much of a choice, so he goes anyway. And Phoebe throws her bear to him for comfort. And then everybody's back together. Then the National Guard shows up and they're like, hey, what's going on, boys? and then Eugene hands him a card, or Sean hands him a card and says, yeah, we're the Monster Squad. Somebody called the National Guard. It's just funny that the National Guard would show up when somebody sends a letter in crayon and his name is Eugene. Like, monsters are here, pretty much. Thought that was kind of funny. And there's the end. Now, guys, I'll be honest with you. This is going to be a biased opinion on this movie because I grew up with this movie, and then this movie has become a staple that I watch every Halloween season. I love this movie. This is going to be a 4.5 out of 5, to be honest with you, if not almost a 5. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy this movie every time I watch it. It never gets old. So that's my review. Love this movie. Love the music. Love the era this is in, and I love some of the shot scenes. And like I said, if I could have a house that close to a movie theater like that, that'd be freaking awesome. And that is my review. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Deafrowe, closed caption. That's me. I'll see you out on the other side of another review. Deafrowe, out.